Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, senior Lakers insider and lead content creator for Offside. Still getting used to using the new titles. Joined on this fine Wednesday night by Sabrina Merchant, who is of The Athletic. She covers women's basketball over there. She's one of my absolute favorite people in the space here. And Sabrina, where I wanted to start with you is if you have already bought your Deandre Ayton Lakers jersey. He just outplayed Victor
I have a
Wembanyama.
certain budget for sports paraphernalia, and it's all on Yamamoto gear right now. That's all it is.
Yeah, the Dodgers have kind of taken out a monopoly on
Mhm.
my shopping list and stuff like that as we get ready for Christmas as well. But no, Sabrina, it's been a little while. How you holding up? I can't believe that we are sitting here recording a podcast a few weeks into the season, and the Lakers are one one game behind the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I mean, just like we all predicted, right?
I think you had it right. The moment that I jumped off of the bandwagon and said, "That's it, I'm out."
Yeah.
I don't see it with JJ. I don't see it with this. That the Lakers turned it completely around. So I think maybe the point of this pod is going to be you like reminding me why I had my concerns,
Tone
so
it
that I
down,
can't
Anthony.
be optimistic about this team and ruin everything.
Mm.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the game that we just watched, in which the Lakers beat the San Antonio Spurs 118-116 to improve to 7-2 on the season. That is easily, I would imagine, the best winning win-loss record that any team has had without LeBron James. I'm willing to. I don't know. I'll ask my friends at Elias Sports Bureau to see if they can help me out here. But I think that the Lakers are winning at a higher clip without LeBron James than any team has ever won without him. That's kind of notable. They won this one. This was their third game in 4 nights. And in this one, they didn't have Austin Reaves again. They won despite all of that. Deandre Ayton, like I said earlier, outplayed Victor Wembanyama, and Luka Doncic continues to kind of make Nico wear levels and levels and levels of egg on his face. So we'll talk about that game and just kind of enjoy the moment as I kind of like to do. And then over the course of the show, obviously, if you guys have any questions or comments, hit me with them. A reminder, please hit that subscribe button or please hit that like button if you guys are watching live on YouTube already. If you guys are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@Lakers Lounge to subscribe to the show there. And then if you guys are listening to in the morning to the podcast, please hit subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, because I'm a company man. All right. All of that out of the way. Sabrina, how much fun was this? I mean, it was Marcus Smart made one of the dumbest decisions or mistakes I've
Yeah.
seen
Mhm.
a veteran make ever in my time watching basketball. But aside from that, like this was well, it was a disjointed game, but I thought it was like fun and like it was kind of like watching a friend get drunk for the first time was like how I would kind of describe the end of this game. It was like, you know
Interesting.
what? You do you. This makes no sense whatsoever. Maybe something good will happen, but here we are. But what did you think of this game?
Look, I'm just gonna put my preferences out there. A 2-hour, 46-minute regulation game, not my particular cup of tea. When
Yeah.
I'm looking for the game late and it's already showing Sports Center on the ESPN feed, like that's and there's still like not really deep even the fourth quarter. Like it was surprising how long this game was going, but uh, in that sense, like stylistically, I probably prefer the Portland game just because of the lack of stoppages. But hey, a win is a win. And I gotta just like issue an apology on DeAndre Ayton. Like I just didn't think he had it anymore. The athleticism looked so much worse in Portland. Just seemed disengaged. Even in Phoenix, the fact that like he didn't seem to buy in that year after they made the finals, and they had that epic flame out in the playoffs when they lost to Luka Doncic's Mavericks team in the Western Conference semifinals. I just wasn't sure like how he was going to fit with this particular Lakers iteration, and he's been awesome. Like defensively, he was awesome in the second half. I mean, he had that one sequence where he blocks, a shot at the basket, and then, I forget if the Lakers scored or not. I don't think they did. Spurs kind of get going in transition, and he has like a closeout on the corner for a 3-point shooter and like stalls the possession in early offense. And it's like that's exactly what you want from the anchor of your defense, right? And I just haven't seen that from him in 5 or so years. I'm not sure if like he was ever really locked in defensively, even at peak Phoenix Suns time. And like it's just really cool to see. Like I think they had this stat on SportsCenter that he's got 2 games of 20, 10, and 2 blocks already this season, which he had gotten once all of last year. So that's nice, right? I just think like that type of player unlocks so much of what the Lakers are trying to do, and just to see him engaged and like he's doing the hit with Scott Van Pelt afterwards, and LeBron comes by and it's like yeah 5, and you can hear it like through the video, and it's just nice that he like seems to be in such a good mood and he's playing really well, and he is exactly the kind of player that the Lakers need. And I'll admit I was not looking forward to the DeAndre Ayton experience, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. Like there's a lot of reasons to enjoy this Laker team. He is my favorite part of it, just for the sheer surprise of it so far.
It's a legitimately great story, right? Like it's so the way that I had kind of talked myself into it back when they signed him in the offseason was like we saw him do all the things necessary to be a winning basketball player after Phoenix told him, "Hey, do all the things that we need you to do to be a winning basketball
We'll
player,
get you
and
a
we will
contract.
give you the
Yeah.
contract." Right? Like, help us win basketball games. We'll give you the contract. He does those things, and even still, and look, I don't think he's blameless there. Like, there were some immaturity questions and stuff like that, like have followed him since. But he does all of those things, and they hardball him or lowball him on that contract, and those negotiations get really ugly. And if I'm Aiton, if I'm a young
I mean, they basically
prof-
told him to go find a contract in restricted free agency, right? He had to get the offer from Indiana that they matched.
yeah, and even then it was just like, oh, he got the damn contract.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were thrilled to pay him.
Mhm.
And if I'm Aiton, I'm basically saying like clearly somebody thought I was valuable, and now I have to stay with you. Like and like if I'd quit on my organization then too, and that was back during the Bobby Sarves days. Like that organization was a mess. That ownership group was a mess. They literally got like essentially got kicked out of the league for for
Mhm.
for all kinds of
Various
reasons.
reasons, yeah.
Yeah, like so long list falls out of my
Like the
hands
CBS
reason.
thing, right?
Yeah. But like, so the way that I've kind of I had talked myself into the Aiton experience here was like, all right, I always believe that situation kind of dictates what the early stages of a career are going to look like. And I just thought that like he showing that he can do winning things or be a part of winning to me was a lot more important than like the way that the next few years play out because he's just in a dumb situation. And then he goes from that to Portland while they are trying to lose in the post, like immediately post Dame. And I'm thinking maybe, if you can, especially if you win early, like this has been a point that I've been trying to hammer home lately is like winning early was really important for this team that has so many expiring contracts, so many guys who are playing to extend their NBA careers. Aiton probably tops that list, and he's the one who I would argue is the most bought in to the things that they've needed to do. And yeah, it's been a really cool story, and I think tonight, like I think objectively speaking, he completely outplayed Wemby. Like I thought the Lakers did some interesting things and kind of picked up from where the Phoenix Suns picked up on Wemby. And I'm not going to go so far as to say as the league is kind of figuring this guy out. This isn't an ESPN show, but I did think that like of the two players, DeAndre Ayton clearly was the more comfortable guy out there.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the Lakers defensively, just where they forced Wemby to get the ball in a lot of situations. I mean,
Yeah.
part of it is San Antonio still just doesn't have good enough guards around this guy, and I feel for him sometimes. His last charge of the game, the broadcast did a really good job of pointing out that like Vassell's got to swing the ball to him right
Yeah,
away,
just
and he
get
just
it
sort of
over
like
there.
looks around and then doesn't quite get it to him, and that's what allows Rui to set up in that situation. So this is not all on Wemby. Dylan Harper comes back, De'Aaron Fox comes back, his life gets a lot easier, and I'm sure defensively it's going to be a lot more challenging to contain that team. But for all of the flack we gave JJ Redick during the playoffs last season, and admittedly it was a bad playoff performance, he's consistently had teams very prepared for regular season games,
Yeah.
and I think they're set up like where Wemby was allowed to have his catches, how the help came, when you were going to close out on him, when you're going to try to, let him take the shot versus, force him into a drive. I thought all of those decisions made a lot of sense for like where Wemby's comfortable. And yeah, he hit some shots, whatever. Like he had some putbacks. Like, it's gonna happen. I mean,
He's a
but
7'5" shooting guard.
yeah. And like the way he blocked one of Aiton's shots, where it's just like it looked like child's play. And Ayton is like a huge person. Like I know we make fun of the dominating nickname, but like it's because he is like a physically imposing dude, and like Wemby is just towering over him. But I thought like defensively, they was really smart on Wemby, and then like the way that they just relentlessly attacked the paint when he was out of the game, like immediately out of the game, right? It was just like, all right, time to attack, time to attack. Like, I thought it was just a
Richard
very well
Jefferson, I
coached game.
thought his head was
Yeah.
going to explode. If they would have thrown one more lob after Wemby subbed out, I think
Yeah.
Richard Jefferson and Tim Legler would have just fallen out of their seats. Like, you
Yeah.
guys, how are you not seeing this coming? They've
Yeah.
done it 4 straight times. The thing I will say about like what the Lakers did, and I think the Suns had some success with this too, is like Kareem used to have issues with Moses Malone. And it was because Moses
Oh,
Malone's like
really
center of
accessible
gravity
for our
was like
listenership here.
underground, right? Yeah, I know. Super, yeah. all of you 13-year-olds who are watching YouTube right now, there was this guy for the Lakers named Kareem who shot the ball like this.
Mhm.
Um, but Kareem, like, and this is the case with a lot of like tall and really skinny guys, is that like they don't like stuff happening around their feet,
Mhm.
and what OKC did with Jokic last year was they basically had Alex Caruso mug him for 48 minutes. But
We
part of
fouled
the
him.
reason that was so effective was because Caruso was so low to the ground, he couldn't be moved. And what the Lakers basically did tonight was like they had Rui guarding Wemby and pushing at his base and getting him away from the basket. They had Vanderbilt pushing at Wemby's base and getting him away from the basket. They had Marcus Smart doing it to some as well. There was really very few moments where Ayton was the guy who was tasked with
Right.
guarding Wemby, and I think that was really smart because you weren't going to out tall Wemby. It's like trying to go small against Golden State. You're just not going to do it.
Can
So
do
you
better
got to
than
find a
them.
different
Yeah.
way, and I thought they did some interesting stuff there. I kind of wonder if that's going to be what like the way that the rest of the league kind of attacks Wemby this early in his career, because eventually he's going to figure that out too, and then it's just kind of over.
I mean, you make the Nuggets comparison, and Rui's traditionally the one who guards Jokic in that
Yeah,
matchup too. Like even when Anthony Davis was on the team, right? Like I think I would have been interested to see more of Ayton on Wemby just because he has his heft is sort of like exercised in a different way than Anthony Davis does, like in that center defensive role. But I mean,
yeah,
no complaints about the way Rui handled that matchup. Like obviously picked up some fouls, but drew a lot of fouls on Wemby. I think they said that it was only the 3rd time in his career that he's fouled out Wembanyama, and like obviously the minutes where he was off the court were very critical to the Lakers winning this game.
yeah. All right, I want to move off to you. You had mentioned just really, really quickly, and I'm one of the people who like noticed LeBron at the beginning of the season, just kind of sitting there like a statue at the beginning. And you had mentioned how while Ayton is doing his walk-off interview or with Scott Van Pelt in Sports Center after the fact, how LeBron walks by, he's like, "You go fight," whatever. I honestly, I was recording my offsides thing, so I didn't see it personally, but I did see him up off the bench on the side, like working the baseline, working the sideline there during timeouts. Pete and I talked about this the last time he and I talked on the pod, and how I really think LeBron is kind of starting to like look at this team. It's like, huh, there there might be something here, and I'm kind of wondering, like, I again either calm me down a little bit, hit me with some cold water, or like,
Mhm.
what do you think about like just kind of progressively over the course of this season? I think LeBron is starting to kind of recognize the same things we are as fans or people who are just watching this team. It's like, is this team good? Like, is this like an
Good
actual
question.
title contender? What's going on right now?
Yeah, so there's a couple things with LeBron. One, I mean, it's a lot easier to have better body language in a game when you're not like playing the Warriors and watching Steph run around against you. Like it's easier when you're winning and like good things are
Yeah.
happening. Obviously, opening night was not a great showcase for the LeBron body language experience, but has seemingly improved since then. I'm sure someone like told him like, "Yo, you look ridiculous on the bench. Like, figure it out."
Yeah.
Um, but I think about the LeBron James teams of the last 20 years. And, much has been made of the fact that this is the first time that he is not the best player on his team or like the focal point on his team. And that in and of itself is a big change. But like, I don't think he's ever been on a team where he wasn't the primary or even secondary ball handler, right? Like he was the point guard essentially for the last Lakers team that won a title. Even in Cleveland, like Kyrie was a nominal point guard, but LeBron did a lot of the initiating and like Kyrie was tasked to like be a scorer in clutch situations, right? Like it was still LeBron doing the playmaking. And I look at this team and like I don't want the ball in LeBron's hands as often, right? Like I think about the lineups that have been most successful and like I'm looking at the end of the game with Luka and Ayton flanked by like three wing guys, Laravia, Rui, and Smart. And I'm like, this makes sense, right? Like, and obviously
Yeah.
Austin is going to be taking one of those spots, but like I want the ball in Austin and Luka's hands. I want LeBron as a finisher. I want him as a short roll guy. I don't want
Especially
him
because like
doing
he's of those three guys, he's the only finisher there.
right. He's the only one that can do that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about LeBron is like I know you've mentioned on previous shows over the last couple of weeks like his versatility and his malleability, but he's never like turned himself into the not playmaker guy, right? Like he's always had the ball in his hands a lot, and I'm just wondering what that is going to look like. I mean, again, adding a talent like LeBron to your team makes you better, but just the fit is going to take some time to work through. And as you mentioned, like they didn't get a chance to do that during preseason. They'll miss the first 15 games or so without LeBron during the regular season. Like I imagine it's going to be an adjustment period where like it's quite possible that the Lakers look worse for a stretch when LeBron comes back, just because there's a very big addition that's been made that changes the
Yeah.
way you're going to play. And I hope that doesn't change the vibes or like this wave of good momentum that's happening or people feel like resentful of the way LeBron's like hijacking the offense or anything. I think it's going to be a meaningful shift. And down the line, I would imagine that makes the Lakers better, but I don't know. I'm a little concerned about what it's going to look like when he first comes back.
So there's a couple points that I would make. Now look at this. I am talking you off of the ledge here. This is weird. But so there's a couple points that I would make here, and it kind of dates back to the summer where I had heard over the summer that this was the most LeBron had done with like focusing on the catch
Right.
at any point in his career. And then he kind of talked about it at Media Day as well. And then what I've been hearing lately is he's putting in a ton of work, obviously on an individual basis, because that's all he can do right now.
Mhm.
But again, with that focus of like really gotta hammer down this thing. And I'm not saying LeBron is going to turn himself into a 3-and-D wing at 41 years old. Like that would be a ridiculous thing to hope for. But I do think like there are moments where like we saw it in tonight's game, I thought. And it gets better when Austin is out there with Luka, but I thought there were a lot of times where like the secondary look just kind of fell flat with the guys who were playing out there tonight. And the Lakers were never really able to pierce the defense consistently against the Spurs tonight. And look, I think the Spurs are going to be good. Like I think
Yeah.
they're a top 8 team, and like they're a playoff team by the traditional sense. There just happens to be
Mhm.
2 play-in seeds in 7 and 8. Um,
I wouldn't be
and their
surprised if they
defense
finished
is
top
gonna.
6 either. Yeah.
I think their defense will probably finish at like 5 to 7 range. Top 5 to 7 range in the league this year. Maybe even better, depending on how often Wemby can be on the floor and stay on the floor. But the thing that I noticed tonight was how the Lakers just like could not pierce the shell of that defense. And then even in those moments that they did, you had Laravia like get to the rim and just like, all right, where's Wemby? And Rui like would get to the room, it's like, oh, where's Wemby? And Ayton on the one play that he didn't say, oh, where's Wemby? He had the block that you had mentioned earlier, where Wemby was falling over and just like reached up and was like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm 8 feet tall. And but like LeBron helps with that stuff, and he helps with piercing the defense as it's in motion, and he also helps with that Devin Vassell play where the ball just needs to swing. And I think LeBron is going to be really good at recognizing, hey, the ball just needs to continue to move here. And the Lakers, I think, will kind of need that. So I think all things considered, I think LeBron will be able to figure this out. There is going to be some moments early where you're like, man, it was fun before. you know, it'll take a little bit of time, but
Yeah.
I think eventually, like, I think this is a legitimately good team now, and after they get through some of those speed bumps early on, I think the Lakers are probably I don't know if I would put them in the grouping with OKC or Denver quite yet, but they are definitely at the top of the next tier down. Because I entered the season with OKC and Denver as my top tier of the West, and then there was some tiers below that. I thought the
Mhm.
Lakers figured into like the second or third tier. I think now the Lakers are easily the third best team in the West right now, and we'll see what that kind of looks like moving forward. I want to talk about Luka because he in the first half, right? He went 25-5 in the first half, and was
Just puts
pretty
up
good.
stupid numbers, man.
Yeah, finishes with 35 points, 9 boards, 13 assists, had 5 steals in the game, a couple of blocks, only 4 turnovers. Didn't shoot the ball very well. 9 of 27 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3-point range,
Missed
and
a lot of free
13 of
throws too.
17 from the free
Yeah.
throw line. Which he said that Austin was gonna give him some shit for after the game. But
I mean, he almost missed 5 free throws, but there was a lane violation, so we got that one back.
yeah, that's true. That's
Mm.
true. Even more, I hope Austin brings that up to
Even
him.
more fodder for Austin, yeah.
Yeah, right. But this was one of those games that, like, in my preview that I recorded for Offside, I said that this is going to come down to which superstar plays better. Is it going to be Wemby or is it going to be Luka? And I thought Luka just thoroughly outstretched Wemby in this one, but I thought it extended even beyond, because I saw some Lakers fans getting a little annoyed in the second half. His production fell off a little bit, some turnovers down the stretch, and he just never really looked all that comfortable against all of the athleticism that San Antonio has. But even still, like, an uncomfortable Luka is still, I would say, a top 1 or 2 or 3 player in the world right now, and I think that's been a lesson to take from this season so far.
Yeah, the passes that he makes are just obscene. Like there's one play, I forget who he's being guarded by in the corner, but like it was in the first half where he sort of like tries to get out of
He
the corner.
flipped it
He's just
over
like
his right,
just
yeah.
flip over his shoulder to Rui on the wing, and it's like I don't know how you see that. Like I as an announcer, I'm not even sure like what they're expecting to happen on that play like as
Did you
it's,
see he
unfolding.
actually tricked the camera person?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That, like, so, like,
Um,
the camera is, like, getting ready for him to send that pass baseline.
right.
Camera goes like, "Yeet," and then it hustles back over to Rui,
Yeah.
who knocks down the 3, and then what was funny about that was that Rui had just missed the and one on the pass Rui had sent before him. So Rui was giving, or Luka was giving Rui shit for costing him an assist there. Rui makes the 3-pointer, and Austin, or and Luka goes to Rui and says like, "Oh, thank you for my assist back. I appreciate that." After throwing one of the crazier passes that we'll see this season.
Yeah, and then, like, you hit the ball in his hands at the end of the game, and he has, like, that step back on Castle that gives the Lakers their first lead of the 4th quarter, which, like, I I really thought he was too far inside the arc to, like, successfully make that step back, but it looks so smooth as he was executing it, and credit to Luka, he's been trying on defense. Like, I know the
I
5
thought he was super
steals, like,
active tonight.
is a
Yeah.
really nice number. I mean, the last one, it looked like Wemby was just passing the ball to him, honestly. Like, I don't really know what was happening there.
Mike Breen was like, "Are we counting that as a steal?"
It was credited as a steal. But yeah, he like fights over screens and he like is really good in help. And obviously, there are certain situations where he's going to get targeted a little bit, but I think his effort level has just been so much higher than it was last season when he joined the Lakers, or, for long stretches of when he was on the Mavericks. Like, you think about that final series against Boston when Brian Winters had to call him out on national television. Like, there have been
Yeah.
many situations where Luka has just not been felt at all defensively, and that is absolutely not the case anymore. Like, he's not our best defender, but he doesn't make things actively worse. And like, that is really all you want from your best player who has so much of an offensive responsibility.
Well, that was the thing that really stuck out to me tonight, was that he had 5 steals in a game where there was no other offensive engine. Like,
Right.
being able, like, from a conditioning standpoint, to make the impact that he had defensively, while he is also the only guy who can get anything going offensively for the Lakers.
Mhm.
That's some Kobe stuff.
Yep.
Or that's some prime LeBron stuff, and like, look, those guys were checking, like, they would have been checking Stephon Castle in this game, and they would have, really kind of taken him out of the game, because those guys were different levels of athlete than Luka is. But like, there were a few plays
I
tonight
mean,
that
prime LeBron
Luka
might have been
just
guarding Wemby, honestly.
LeBron might have, yeah.
Yeah.
And Kobe might have too. Screw it. He might have tried. I don't know how it would have gone, but he would have tried.
Yeah.
But like, there were a couple plays tonight that Luka forced San Antonio deeper into the shot clock because he was just denying, and this is the thing that I always ask of players, and this is always kind of that milestone that I feel like elite offensive players need to hit, is you need to, at some point, utilize your understanding of the game on the offensive side to just put yourself in the middle of the other team's offense defensively, and just use your understanding of the sport and your abilities as a chess player to just bother the other team and just be the wrench that the Lakers can throw into that spot. Jokic has figured it out, and I think we're kind of watching Luka figure it out this season. Because I think tonight was, I thought, his best defensive game, so far this season. But I think he's kind of progressively gotten to this point. Last thing before we get you out of here, and I'm going to let you plug stuff on your way out as well. But last thing before we get you out of here, have your expectations for this team changed now? What is it, 8 or 9 games into the season?
I think so. I sort of entered this season as I was pretty confident the Lakers are gonna make the playoffs. Like, even though the West is deep, I felt very good about them being a top 6 team. Um, Thought they're gonna be very matchup dependent in the playoffs. Like, I could see them losing in the first round again, depending on who ended up on their side of the bracket. But I don't know. I look at the West and, like, OKC's better, just
Mm.
because they're so deep and they're going to have home court. Like, I know the record is only 1 game away, but like, that is a team that just knows how to win games in the regular season. And like, I look at the rest of the West and, like, I'm not honestly convinced Denver is better than the Lakers. I'm just not. I think
Bruce
the
Brown
Michael Porter
hasn't been as
Jr.
good as I think
the Michael Porter
people thought he was
Jr.
going to be.
subtraction is, like, it's a big deal. It changes, like, they don't he's just an unconscious shooter in a way that Cam Johnson is not, and he affects things defensively because he's so big in a way that Cam Johnson cannot. Um, like, I don't want to get into it. I was a little confused as to why everyone is so happy that, like, they made that move, other than, like, I'm assuming the experience of having Michael Porter Jr. in the locker room is like a tough hang. So, like, that's probably part of it. But
I was going to say, like, are you ready for the Lakers to trade for
oh
Michael
my god,
Porter
like,
Jr.?
the Curious Mike experience is probably reason enough to make that deal. But I look at the West and I'm like, I know that the Thunder are better than the Lakers. That's how I feel right now. I'm not certain that I can say that about other teams in the West. That I know that they're better than the Lakers, and like, that's a good place to be.
I think that's how I would put it too. I still feel a little bit that way because Jokic just terrifies me, and I think eventually he's going to make it work with Cam Johnson, and eventually he's going to make it work with, like, that team's, like, Jamal Murray is finally in shape in November, which is not normally something you would say about Jamal Murray, and I'm kind of curious how that's going to carry through to the rest of the season. But I do think it's a conversation between those two
Yeah.
teams, and I did not expect it to be a conversation between those two teams heading into the season.
Like, Aiden has
Uh,
historically played well against the Nuggets, so
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
Well, there was a reason that all like Nuggets fans and Nuggets podcasters freak out when when the Lakers traded for Luka.
I mean, there's
Like
a
of
reason
all of
why.
the fan
Yeah,
bases out there,
exactly.
that was the fan base that was the most
Mhm.
angry at the fact that the Lakers had just gotten this guy. So it's
Yeah.
that's definitely a good point, worth mentioning. All right, Sabrina, your work is at the Athletic. You cover all of women's basketball there, college basketball. I don't know why it was like a blind spot for me that like college basketball is back, even though of course it's back with the NBA being back. I don't know
It was
why it
week
was like
1 of
surprised. You
college
said like,
basketball,
yeah,
so
these
we're right in it. Yeah.
I don't know why that surprised me. And you host or you co-host the No Offseason podcast, which is an apt name given the joke that I just made there. But anything else anything specifically there that you want to plug before we get you out of here?
I mean, not really. It is the first weekend of college basketball season, so there is a lot of preview content up at the Athletic. The last couple of shows on our podcast are very college basketball, what to expect this season heavy. So, you know, check those out if you're trying to get a feel for this season. And the WNBA is currently undergoing collective bargaining negotiations. So if
Yeah.
that's your particular speed, I have done a lot of work on that. You can listen to the podcast. You can also check out the Athletic Show, which came out last Saturday, where I talk in depth about CBA stuff. So basically, anything you could possibly want to know about women's basketball, I've got something to help you out there.
The new league that NECA joined up with
Well,
it.
we've
Like, are
talked
you
about Project B too. That'll happen this week too. Yeah.
um
Project B, Unrivaled, college, WNBA, like any particular flavor of women's basketball, you can go to the Athletic and we will be discussing it or writing about it, I can promise you.
I kind of feel like at some point, like this kind of feels like, with comic book story arcs, everything would just broaden way out and it would reach a breaking point to where like all comic book fans would collectively say, like, what are we doing here? And finally it would like kind of consolidate back up and you would like, all of your favorite characters would finally be back where they kind of belong and stuff. And I feel like these CBA negotiations are the opportunity for those story arcs to kind of come back together and for the WNBA to be the league that it should have been this whole time. That's kind of my hope there. Is that hope misplaced, would you say?
If you were to talk to the owners of the WNBA and the commissioner, that is absolutely their hope, is to consolidate everything into the WNBA to make it so that players don't have to go to other
Yeah.
leagues as they have in
Are they willing to
previous
pay for that?
years. That is the question, right? You gotta make it worth their while.
Well, I really appreciate you hopping on here, Sabrina. It was on late notice. This game was so fun, and then it got so drunk at the very end that I was like, I need to talk to somebody about this. I can't just
I never
bounce around
thought
in this window on my own.
anything would approach Lamar Odom just walking the ball in and Phil Jackson just giving him like, "What the F is wrong with you?" look on the sideline. But no, Marcus Smart beat it. This
No,
is
did
the
you see
Lakers
him?
inbounds I
Like,
will think of now.
Smart's on the sideline, and you know how much it takes for Marcus Smart to be like this on the
Yeah.
sideline? He's just standing here with a towel over his face because he realizes he just made the dumbest mistake
Yeah.
of his like, I'm not kidding. That's day one basketball stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
Big
And
mistake.
like they said on ESPN, Rui is 30 feet beyond anybody there. It's not like you needed to get the ball to him ASAP. He was wide open. But no, I appreciate it, Sabrina. This has been a lot of fun. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit longer and answer some of your guys' questions and comments. But check out all of Sabrina's work at The Athletic. She is, like I said earlier, way better at this stuff and way smarter at this stuff than I am. And I've really appreciated and been able to watch you grow in this industry. It's been really cool. So thanks for hopping on, and I'll talk to you soon.
Later.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive on into some other topics from this game, and where I kind of wanted to start. Look, I've been positive this whole show, basically, and I've considered the Lakers title contenders, and this isn't even a criticism of the Lakers per se. But we got to have a conversation about the refereeing in this game because it was freaking garbage between the two teams. Well, for one thing, if both of the stars involved in the game are in foul trouble, that tells me that the referees lost the plot. So that's one place I could potentially start. But no, statistically, the San Antonio Spurs shot 40 free throws in this game, and the Lakers topped that with 44 free throws. There were 84 free throws between the two teams in this game, and like Sabrina said, this was an almost 3-hour basketball game. Sometime in the next week or so, I'm going to talk to Ethan Strauss about his article recently about how baseball's World Series have both, the last couple of years just absolutely wiped the floor with NBA, the ratings from the last two NBA Finals series, and this notion of, hey, is baseball retaking its spot as the number 2 sport in American professional sports? I don't know that I would necessarily go that far, but how you arrive at a place like, where that even becomes a conversation again, is with this nonsense where you have a basketball game between two teams that are on similar in similar spots. They both have really exciting players up and down their rosters, and you have superstars who are sitting out of the who aren't available at all. You have guys who are kind of like on the cusp of being available, but like the team decides to kind of hold them out. And then even with the superstars who did play in the game, they were kind of taken out of the game for long stretches because the referees decided it was the game that all of the tic-tac stuff needed to be called. And yeah, like, was this an overly physical game? And yeah, what did some of this stuff need to be called at some point? Sure. But I just thought it reached a point at various moments and various stretches over the course of the game where it was like foul, 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 foul. And it's like, can we go a possession without a fucking foul? Can we go a possession without free throws? Can we give that a go? Can we let Luka Doncic be Luka Doncic? Can we let Victor Wembanyama be Victor Wembanyama? And one of the things I was kind of nervous about coming into this game, and one of the trends that I've been kind of nervous about is, normally at the beginning of a season, you'll have the referees all kind of on the same page with the decision of, hey, the grifting stuff, we're not going to reward that as much at the beginning of the season. And then we'll kind of work it back into the recipe of an NBA game over the course of the year as guys get more tired and stuff like that. But no, this season, they've just been rewarding the grifting from day one. And I just don't think that is very good for the sport. And, I brought up the Major League Baseball a second ago for a very particular reason, in that baseball saw that it was becoming, through tactics, through rules, through approaches to the sport, baseball recognized that it was becoming less and less and less and less and less watchable. And they did away with the shift. They brought the ghost runner in so that those extra inning games didn't go to like 23 innings in regular season games that nobody cares to watch. They brought in the pitch count so that these games wouldn't go for 4 hours with, and with them still being 9 inning games. And lo and behold, through some of these rule changes, whether they had a direct impact on viewership, or whether it's just because the Dodgers got Ohtani and have won 2 straight World Series and they are now the big bad villain that everybody wants to see lose, whatever it is, baseball had, at the very least, showed its fans that they are willing to impact or make changes to a sport when it's very clear that those changes need to be brought about. Whereas, like with the NBA, every so often they'll be like, there was that one stretch randomly where, all of a sudden referees across the NBA decided they weren't going to reward grifting for a bit, and did so kind of rogue, and then scoring dipped. And if you were in on the take, you bet unders and made a shit ton of money. For some reason, that wasn't a bigger story. But like now we've gone the opposite way, where Adam Silver has basically decided that there's a direct correlation between individual scoring output and ratings on a night by night basis. And I just don't think that is the proper takeaway from watching these games. People want to see physicality. They want to see defense. They want to see these guys have to play through some stuff to be able to put out the kind of stat lines that some of these guys are capable of putting out. And I thought tonight was just a brutally refereed game. And I had my issues with how the Lakers were refereed, but I don't think Spurs fans really loved how this game was refereed in their from their sake either. And if both sides and if both teams walk away from this thing like angry at how the game was refereed, that tells me that there was a problem. And this being an ESPN game, this being a game between Victor Wembanyama, a guy who was probably a year or a few away from being anointed as the best player in the league, and Luka Doncic, who is in the middle of that climb himself. Like, this should have been a game where those two guys are just going bucket for bucket, and their team is going, either stop for stop or bucket for bucket. And no, it was like free throw for free throw. And that was just, I thought, a really unfortunate outcome to what should have been a really fun game. It was still a really fun game, but it was less fun than it probably should have been. I want to dive into some of your guys' comments here. So we will go Bashir, off topic, but worth a mention. Ramona was on ESPN and mentioned Rob was in and is still in contact with Friedman, mold over free agency together. Like Andrew Friedman? Is that what you're saying, Bashir? I clarify that, and then I'll come back to your comment here. When I can. Let's see. All right, Oliver Garrett, because we are winning games right now, so I'm thinking we don't need LeBron James anymore. I'm just not willing to go there. I will never, until I see LeBron James actually washed, like microwaved piece of well done steak washed. I am never going to be of the opinion that a team doesn't need LeBron James. It would be one thing if like it was Austin and LeBron who were keeping the team afloat, and they somehow sat at 7-2 and they were getting ready to work, like, maybe not Luka because he's a top 5 player in the world, maybe even probably definitely higher. But let's say this was let's say Ja Morant was in Luka's spot on this team, and LeBron and Austin had kept things afloat, and you were getting ready to add Ja Morant back into the group. I would be sitting here and saying, does it make sense to maybe move Ja while you can and supplement LeBron and Austin with, say, Anthony Davis, or like, I would. There are some players who have like star capital in the league who I would say, I don't know if that's necessarily what this team needs. That's not the case with LeBron. And the reason that I keep on saying it is because he played a certain way without any superstars and got the Cleveland Cavaliers to the NBA Finals in his first stint there. Then he went to Miami and he played a certain way with Wade and Bosh, and then he got back to Cleveland and he played a certain way with Kyrie and won a championship in Miami, and he won a championship in Cleveland, and then he gets to LA and he plays a certain way without any other superstar again. And then the Lakers add Anthony Davis, and that's a completely different approach that LeBron takes there. And he's able to make that work to the tune of a championship. Like, this dude, all he has ever done over the course of his career is approach the sport of basketball or approach the team that he's playing on, look at it, identify what he needs to do to make it the best version of that team that he can possibly make it, and then execute that vision. And I think, again, dating back to heading into the season. I think he's identified what he'll need to bring to the table whenever he starts playing again. And I think he's worked really hard to mold his game in a way that allows him to execute that vision. And now we'll see. Like maybe he does get to, get out there again in that November 18th to 23 range. And maybe there is some stumbling out of the gates there, or maybe he isn't comfortable shooting off of the catch or attacking off of the catch as he was kind of hoping to be. Maybe it's altogether possible. He's 41 years old. Like learning to play a completely different brand of basketball at 41 years old seems kind of difficult. Shit, I'm 39 and playing any brand of basketball seems really difficult. So, like, it might just be that he gets to the Lakers and the fit is so clunky and is never fixable or whatever. But LeBron has solved every other basketball problem that he's been presented with over the course of his entire career. I think he'll be fine, man. And I think the Lakers, a team that already sits at 7-2, is probably going to be just fine when they add LeBron James to the equation that they're currently working with. All right. Bashir did clarify. So, all right. So Bashir saying that Ramona was putting pushback on the idea that the front office would have significant changes and said Friedman and Rob were already in constant contact. Well, Friedman wouldn't have anything to do with this though, right? So, like it would be Walter and Rob and their relationship that I would care a hell of a lot more about than Andrew Friedman and Rob Pelinka. And look, I've said this already. So I think the outline is already kind of there where Mark Walter and his group bought the Dodgers, and when they bought the team, Don Mattingly was the manager at the time, and he was maddening. Really enjoyed beating him in the World Series. And then Ned Colletti was the GM of the Dodgers at the time, and Mark Walter and his group, they buy the team, and when they get to the team, they take a look around at everybody who's in their various gigs, and they do some heavy evaluation of what needs to be done and what needs to be tweaked and what needs to be supplemented or what needs to be outright replaced, and came to the conclusion that it was like time for Ned Colletti to start his TV career, and that it was time for Don Mattingly to head to Miami and try to be a manager over there. And so they, after they make those decisions, they bring in Andrew Friedman, they bring in they bring in Dave Roberts after one of the lengthiest and most arduous searches for a head coach that I have ever seen, and definitely the most arduous and deep and thorough search that I've ever covered. Remember, I was running Dodgers Nation at the time when they hired Dave Roberts. I was there for his intro presser, and I remember covering every new name that the Dodgers brought in, and eventually they landed on Dave Roberts, and I would say that's worked out pretty well. And what I think is probably going to play out here is that Walter is going to pay very, very close attention over the next few years, maybe couple years, I would probably say at the very least, to how the Lakers are operating with Rob Pelinka and with JJ Redick at the helm. And he's going to make some decisions as to which jobs need to be further supplemented, or which jobs or which people need to be outright replaced. And we'll see what that looks like at the end of that process. But one thing I can confidently say is that no matter what decision Mark Walter comes to and what decision Mark Walter's entire ownership group comes to, it will be made not because of proximity to friends It'll be made not because of, which yes people somebody prefers to have around, based on how they've handled things with the Dodgers. I can confidently say that whoever they do hire, whether it's sticking with Rob Pelinka or bringing in outside help, whatever decision they wind up making there, uh, the Lakers will employ the best people that, or the right people is how I'll say. Maybe not even the right people, because you never really know. Like, the results play a role in whether or not somebody is the right people. But I will trust that whatever decisions are made at the end of that process, they will be made through a legitimate process. And I always kind of go back to the hiring of JJ Redick, and it's worked out to this point. So sometimes poor process leads to decent results. But like with JJ, they basically embarked on the process of hiring a new head coach with JJ as the guy that they wanted to find. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But you look at the people that the Lakers have hired over the years who have worked. Frank Vogel comes to mind. And you compare Frank to some of the guys that they wanted to find when they set out on the process of finding their next head coach. Darvin Ham comes to mind. Luke Walton comes to mind. JJ Redick comes to mind. And it's a bit more of a mixed bag with that second category of coach. So look, is this going to happen right away? Probably not. Is this going to happen on a timeline that we are all comfortable with? Also probably not. But whenever certain decisions are made and certain people are hired, or certain positions are supplemented with further resources, I do think whenever those decisions are made, we'll be able to be like confident in the fact that, like, all right, yeah, that was probably the a well-informed decision to make at the time. All right, we have a super comment, which means I get to play this bad boy. Pat Greedy says, how good is this Lakers team after 82 games? All right, so I asked Sabrina if like her expectations for this team have changed. She said yes. I also agree. I would also agree and say yes also. I headed into the season and I thought that they would probably win like 51 games again. After these first, let's see, what have they played? 9 games. I would up that to like 54, 55 wins is what I would probably anticipate that the Lakers will be able to win. I think the West is going to be really difficult. I am getting a little nervous, of the dings and bumps and bruises that the Lakers have sustained to this point. Like, it doesn't get easier to get healthier over the course of a season. So that makes me a little nervous. But what I will say, and I think this is a lot more important than however many games the Lakers are going to win between now and the 82nd game of the season, this team is going to be a motherfucker in a playoff series. If everybody is healthy, and if the Lakers get a decent amount of reps to be able to implement and build a culture from now through to the playoffs, this is going to be one of those teams that nobody is going to want to face. OKC and Denver included, let alone every team in the East. I do truly believe in what these guys are building for the postseason. And here's hoping that they're able to stay healthy. And here's hoping that, they're able to carry out this momentum from here on out. But I think this team is playoff series 16 wins good. And it's just a matter of whether or not they're able to continue that momentum and get the reps necessary to prove me right. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We have a really fun day planned for you guys tomorrow. It's an off day, I believe. Yeah, it is an off day. And there are two guests that I don't want to jinx, so I'm not going to give them away. But we have the way tomorrow's show is going to go is I'll record a quick intro and I'll throw to a couple of interviews. And the people that I'm interviewing are people that I have been hoping to interview over the entire course of my career. So yeah, I can't wait to put those interviews together and get that up on the feed. But you guys are going to want to tune in tomorrow. And then Friday, I don't want to overhype it, but my guest for Friday show, and this is an off week. We don't normally do an episode of The Hook in between Pete weeks, but I might be able to bring in a guest here who you would be really looking forward to hearing from on your favorite day of the week. So awesome slate ahead of you for the next couple of days. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Sabrina Merchant earlier in the show, one of my absolute favorite people and favorite guests. Check out all of her work at the Athletic. And until the next time you guys hear from me, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Man, I love beating the fucking Spurs. Let's go.